Good day, grade 9. We are back with another video for lesson 4, which is the operations on radicals. And after this lesson, you are expected to perform operations on radical expressions. But before I start, I want you to get the copy of your module and a pen so that habang nagdi-discuss ako, guided kayo sa ating discussion. At the same time, you can jot down notes. Along the lesson, may mga makakasalubong kayong familiar concepts sa inyo, such as the basic operations on mathematics, which includes addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Ang kaibahan lang sa lesson na to, meron tayong kasamang radical expressions. At the same time, you will need to remember the concepts na na-discuss natin from the previous lesson at the same time from the previous year. So without further ado, let's start with lesson 4. So for operations on radicals, we'll actually use the 4 basic operations on mathematics wherein it includes addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So now, focus muna tayo sa addition and subtraction. For addition and subtraction, pinagsama na sila kasi iisa lang naman ang restriction or qualification sa radicals para masabi na pwede silang i-add or i-subtract. So tandaan lang natin that for us to add and subtract radicals, they should be similar radicals. So paano ba natin masasabi na ang radicals ay similar? Dapat sila ay may same index and same radicand. So sa ibinigay na discover part sa ating module, we were asked to help Maria to obtain the perimeter of her triangle, wherein ang ibinigay na measurements ay 8 square root of 8, 4 square root of 32, and 9 square root of 50. So kung papansin natin, hindi sila similar radicals, right? But we have understood from the previous lesson na a non-perfect square number can actually be simplified even though nasa ilalim siya ng isang square root. So, itong 8 square root of 8 can be written as 8 times 2 square root of 2, which is equal to 16 square root of 2. 4 square root of 32 can be written as 4 multiplied by 4 square root of 2, simply 16 square root of 2. And 9 square root of 50 can be written as 9 times 5 square root of 2, simply that is 45 square root of 2. Okay, so hindi natin iniba ang value ng ating given. Isinulat lang natin siya sa simplified form niya. At kung mapapansin ninyo, we have 3 different values wherein they are similar radicals because they have the same indices at the same time same radicands. Therefore, they are similar radicals. Now, since alam na natin na sila ay similar radicals, we can now perform addition and subtraction. But since we are trying to look for the perimeter of the triangle, and when we are trying to look for the perimeter of a figure, we just have to add the lengths of its sides. The perimeter of the triangle can be obtained by adding their sides. So I will use 3 different variables, and then let's substitute. We have 16 square root of 2 plus 16 square root of 2 plus 45 square root of 2. And then we will just add the numerical coefficients outside the radicals and then copy the common radical. So 16 plus 16 plus 45, that is 77. And then let us copy the common radical, square root of 2. And then you put the units, which is inches. And therefore, this is the perimeter of Maria's triangle. Let us have another example from your module. We have 13 square root of 2 plus 4 square root of 3 minus 5 square root of 2 plus 10 square root of 3. So kung papansin natin, meron tayong dalawang magkaibang radicals. Meron tayong square root of 2 at meron tayong square root of 3 kung saan tig-dalawa sila ng term. So para mas madali natin siyang may add, palitan lang natin yung order ng ating terms. Because according to commutative property of addition, changing the order of the addends does not affect the sum. So, atin lang pagsamahin ang 13 square root of 2 minus 5 square root of 2. And then, we have plus 4 square root of 3 plus 10 square root of 3 para mas mabilis natin siyang may add or may subtract since magkakatabi na yung mayroong common radicals or similar radicals. And then, let's perform the operation. 13 minus 5, then quantity square root of 2 since that is the common radical plus 4 plus 10, the quantity multiplied by the square root of 3. And then, let's simplify. 13 minus 5, that's 8. Square root of 2 plus 4 plus 10, that's 14. And then square root of 3. Now, we cannot add these two radicals since they have different radicands. Kahit pareha sila ng indices, we cannot consider that as similar radicals since magkaiba ang radicand. So, ibig sabihin, ito na ang kanilang final answer. So, for multiplication of radicals, gagamit lang tayo ng isang laws of radicals na diniscuss natin from the previous lesson. We have nth root of A multiplied by the nth root of B is equal to the nth root of AB. Okay? I just want to reiterate that this is applicable when the indices are the same. So, if the two terms have the same indices, then therefore, pwede natin siyang isulat sa iisang radicand and then we multiply the radicands. Let us have an example. We have 4 square root of 5 times 3 square root of 18. Since they have the same indices, dahil parehas yung square root, so pwede nating pag-multiplyin ang numerical coefficients outside the radical. So we have 4 times 3, that's 12. And then 5 times 18, that is 90. However, 90 is not a perfect square. But pwede natin siyang i-simplify gamit ang laws of radicals. So we have 12 times the square root of 9 times 10. So simply, this can be written as 12 square root of 9 times square root of 10. We rewrite it as 12 times 3 times square root of 10. Simply, that is 36 square root of 10. Another example, we have a square root of ab squared times 2b square root of a squared b times 3ab square root of a squared b squared. Okay, so para mas mabilis natin siyang ma-multiply, paghiwalayin natin ang lahat ng numerical coefficients na nasa labas ng radicals at ang radicands na nasa loob ng radicals. So, kung mapapansin natin, again, iisa ang kanilang indices. Therefore, we can rewrite them sa isang radical expression. Okay. So, sa unang parenthesis, pagkasama-samahin ko ang tatlong numerical coefficients. That's A multiplied by 2B multiplied by 3AB. And then, we multiply the values inside the radical expressions. We have AB squared multiplied by A squared B multiplied by A squared B squared. Then, let's simplify. A times 2B times 3AB is 6A squared B squared using the product rule. We multiply the values inside the radical expression. We have A times A squared, that's A raised to 5. And B squared times B squared is B raised to 5. Now, as per the laws of radicals, we can still simplify this by removing the perfect nth powers. So, to remove the perfect nth powers, we can rewrite this as 6A squared B squared multiplied by, paghihiwalay natin sa dalawang magkaibang radicals. So, ang perfect nth powers niya ay A raised to 4, B raised to 4, and then ang AB ay nasa kabilang radical sign. Let's simplify. We have 6A squared B squared. The square root of A raised to 4, B raised to 4 is A squared B squared multiplied by the square root of AB. So, we have 6A raised to 4, B raised to 4 square root of AB. So, for the next set of examples, we will actually use concepts that we have learned from the previous year, wherein we will use the distributive property and the concept of binomials. So, ano nga ulit ang binomials? If you can remember, a binomial is an algebraic expression which consists of two terms. So, for the third example, under the multiplication of radicals, we have the quantity of 5 plus square root of 2 multiplied by the quantity of 3 minus square root of 2. Now, for us, to multiply these two binomials, we will just use the distributive property wherein we multiply the first terms, 5 times 3, plus the outer terms, that's 5 times negative square root of 2, and then plus the inner terms, we have square root of 2 times 3, and then we multiply the last terms, we have square root of 2 times negative square root of 2. And then we simplify. 5 times 3, that's 15. And then 5 times negative square root of 2, that is negative 5 square root of 2. Kasi dito sa tabi ng negative square root of 2 or sa gitna nila is meron tayong implied na 1. And then plus 3 square root of 2. And then square root of 2 times negative square root of 2, we have negative square root of 4. Then let's combine like terms. Since negative square root of 4 when simplified is equal to negative 2, dito ko na siya itatabi sa ating constant. So we have 15 minus 2, and then we combine these two similar radicals. So we have negative 2 square root of 2. Simplify, we have 13 minus 2 square root of 2. Okay. So, hindi natin sila pwedeng pag-combine since 13 is a constant and negative 2 square root of 2 is a radical. So, for the next example naman, kung mapapansin nyo, isa lang ang binomial na gagamitin. Yun nga lang, we will multiply it to a monomial factor. So, sa ganitong pagkakataon, gagamit pa rin tayong distributive property. Ang kaibahan lang, i-multiply lang natin yung monomial factor doon sa bawat term na nasa loob ng parentheses. So, we have square root of 2 multiplied by 5 square root of 3 plus square root of 2 multiplied by square root of 2. Okay, then let's simplify. Since square root of 2 and square root of 3 have the same indices, we can rewrite it sa isang radical expression. So, isulat muna natin yung numerical coefficient sa labas because 1 times 5 is 5, and then square root of 2 times square root of 3, that's square root of 6. And then plus square root of 2 times square root of 2, that's square root of 4. Simply, we have 2 plus 5 square root of 6. So, for the last example, for multiplication of radicals under the distributive property and the binomials, ang example na ito, wherein we have square root of m plus 4 quantity squared is actually equal to square root of m plus 4 multiplied by square root of m plus 4. So, kanina, nalaman natin kung paano mag-multiply ng dalawang binomials. Anong kaibahan niya? Dito kasi, we are multiplying a binomial by itself, or we're actually squaring it. And when we are squaring a binomial, pwede tayong gumamit ng isang shortcut or isang mas mabilis na paraan na tinatawag na special products. So, when we are squaring a binomial, kung maatatandaan ninyo, from the previous year, we'll just have to square the first term. So, we have square root of m squared plus, kaya plus ang ginamit is because addition ang ginamit na operation sa gitna ng ating binomial. Twice the product of the first term and the second term, and then square the last term. Okay? And then let's simplify. So, according sa laws of radicals, kapag parehas ang index at ang exponent ng isang radicand, we can actually cancel it. So, we have m, and then plus 2 times 4, that's 8, then square root of m. And then 4 squared, that is 16. Therefore, we have m plus 8 square root of m plus 16. So, we are now done with multiplying radicals having the same indices. Now, punta naman tayo kapag nag-multiply tayo ng radicals with different order. We have the fourth root of 4 multiplied by the cube root of 2. Okay. Before we transform our radicals into its exponential form, kung mapapansin nyo, ang isa sa factors ng ating imino-multiply can actually be reduced using its order. So, the fourth root of 4 can be reduced by the square root of the square root of 4 multiplied by the cube root of 2. Okay? So, since pwede nating kuhanin ng square root of 4, this can also be written as the square root of 2 times cube root of 2. Now, let us transform it into its exponential form. We have 2 raised to 1/2 multiplied by 2 raised to 1/3. Okay? So, since we are dealing with the same bases, we can actually apply the product rule, wherein, when we are multiplying two expressions with the same bases, we just have to copy their base and then add their exponents. So, simply, we copy 2 and then add their exponents, 1/2 plus 1/3. Okay, so 1/2 and 1/3 are dissimilar fractions. Therefore, para makombine natin siya sa isang fraction, we'll use the least common multiple of 2 and 3. 2 raised to, we have 6. 6 divided by 2, that's 3 times 1. We have 3 plus 6 divided by 3, that's 2 times 1, that's 2. And then, let's add the numerators. We'll have 2 raised to 5 over 6. So after that, let us rewrite it sa kanyang radical form, which is the 6th root of 2 raised to 5. Simply, 2 raised to 5 is equivalent to 32. So that's 6th root of 32. Another example, we have the cube root of y times the 4th root of 2y. Unlike sa example natin kanina, wala na tayong pwedeng i-reduce dyan gamit ang index. So, let us proceed with rewriting it sa kanyang exponential form. So, this will become y raised to 1/3 times 2y raised to 1/4. Now, since 2y ay nasa loob ng radical expression, ibig sabihin we have to use a parenthesis indicating na ang 2 and y ay magkasama sa loob ng radical expression. Now, let us get the LCM of the exponents of the two factors. The LCM of 3 and 4 is 12. So, we rewrite this as 12. So, y raised to 12 divided by 3, that's 4 times 1, we have 4. Multiplied by, so we have the quantity of 2y, and 12 divided by 4, that's 3 times 1, and that's 3. Now, since parehas na ang kanilang denominator, pwede natin siyang isulat sa kanyang radical form. So, we have the 12th root of y raised to 4, and then the quantity of 2y cubed. And then simply, we have the 12th root of y raised to 4 times 2 cubed is 8, and then y cubed. And then, let us combine like terms using the product rule. So, the 12th root of 8y raised to 7. So, this ends the first part of Lesson 4. So, para makapunta kayo sa kadugtong na lesson video na ito, just find the link na nakalagay sa ating description box below.